Awesome. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go over that in a moment. We just got a question from Nathan. How do we make an appointment with you guys? We'll cover that real shortly. I'll give you a little heads up. You just head to csus.edu. You can search financial wellness in the search bar. And we actually have a really great appointment calendar now. So it's super painless. You just go ahead and say schedule an appointment, and you can choose between some times that are available. And you can either ask us a generic question that might take like 10 to 15 minutes. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Maria. Or you could, if you want to meet with us repeatedly, we can do coaching sessions to help you through whatever kind of financial stress you're going through. So that's super great, and it's free, and you can use it as much as we want. So we're here for you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me get this sharing.
And you want me on remote access, Julia?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember how to do that though. We're winning. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Izzy. All right. You all are so patient with us. Thank you so very much. We're going to be going over financial aid, and we hope that this is helpful to give you an overview to kind of get started to making your financial plan for Sac State. We know it's a lot of information. We know it's confusing sometimes, or you might be a master at it already. Whatever place you are in your life currently, we respect that, and we're here for you. So like we said, if you have any questions while we go through, feel free to put them in the chat, and if we can notice them right away, we'll answer them. If not, we can attend to all of them at the end as well, but we'll make sure to get those answered one way or the other. So we're the Financial Wellness program here at Sac State. We're fairly new. They did a study and found that obviously a whole bunch of students are super stressed about money. Who would have thought? So we're here as peer financial coaches. I'm a junior, well, I'll be a senior here in the fall. Business degree, I'm doing accounting, and AZ will introduce himself as well.
Hi, everyone. So my name is AZ Nickdale. I'm a new career financial coach. I just got the job here in the spring. Super excited to help students. I am going to be a sophomore in the fall, majoring in management information systems. But yeah, financial aid is something that's pretty beefy, but hopefully we can shorten it down, make it really easy to understand. So yeah.
Yeah, the goal is painless. Perfect. So we'll be going over the different types of financial aid, some things to know about it afterwards, and get you more comfortable. All right, so first, and I'm so sorry for my PowerPoint ahead of time. I use a lot of transitions because I just can't help myself, but it'll be lovely. So the very first thing to do, which if you're transfer students, I'm sure you've done this in the past, but this is the access to financial aid. We have our FAFSA and the California DREAM Act application. So depending on your situation, you're going to be applying for one or the other. This is the form that you fill out every single year. And it's very important to get access, even if you don't think that you are going to be eligible for financial aid. It benefits you always to do this. It's free, and there might be some programs you're not aware of. You might be qualifying for something that you didn't expect, but always as a default, complete it every single year. So financial aid is designed, right, to help us make it through college, and to cover some of those costs. For some of us, it's going to be more costs are covered, and for some of us, it's going to be less, and we might need to be a bit more creative. But this is the jumping off point. So like I said, it's apply every year. So October 1st, put it in your calendars, just get it done with. October 1st to March 2nd is the period that you want to fill out your FAFSA. This gives you eligibility for the most grants and the most money. If you wait, you can still do it, but you're less likely to get the aid that you need. So if you're going to do it anyways, just get it done with, right? So you're going to need 2018 taxes. The FAFSA goes off of prior year, which can be confusing. But for the 2020-2021 school year that's coming up here, you would have filled out your FAFSA with your 2018 taxes. So coming up in October, Yeah, coming up in October, you'll be using your 2019 taxes for the following year. And it guides you through that. You'll get in there and you'll know what you're supposed to do. It won't be super scary. And if you have any problems, you can always make appointments with us. So the California Dream Act, a little bit about that. That's for the AB 540 students. And it's going to be at the same timeline, October to March, that you're going to want to apply. This gives you California grant eligibility. So you may not be eligible for federal, but because you live in California, there's still some grants that are available to you, which can be very helpful. And there's also the Dreamers Resource Center. Sac State's putting a lot of effort into building out these programs to help groups of students make it through college in the best possible way for them. So if that applies to you, definitely check out the Dreamer Resource Center. It's run by a magnificent person who is super, super helpful, and I would definitely encourage that. So one of the most confusing things about applying for financial aid, at least for me, when I first got out of high school, I needed to use my parents' income because I was under 24. And then I got married fairly young. I was 23 when I got married. It's my 10-year anniversary coming up pretty soon. But then I didn't need to use my parents. So now I was using my income and my husband's income. So it all boils down to your age. So essentially, if you're 24 on December 31st of that financial aid year, then I don't want to mess this up for you. Sorry. I just had a brain fart. If you're 24 and under on that aid year, then you're going to be using your parents' information. And we're going to go over that shortly too and show you, so you can see the whole equation. But that's a big question. Maybe my parents aren't paying for as much as I'd like. Why do I have to include their income? This is just the way that the financial aid system is set up. So the exceptions to this is, like, if you're married and you're under 24, then you'd be using yours and your husband's. If you're an orphan, if you have dependents, maybe you have a child, that would be just your income. Are you a veteran or doing active duty? There's different rules that apply to those folks. And then as far as like how to keep my aid really quickly, you're going to need to keep your time up to at least half time. So for Sac State undergraduate, that's going to be 6 units. And you're also going to need to progress in your degree and keep up your grades. So that's always something to keep in mind. If you get aid and you use it and then you don't meet those requirements, they can request it back. So it's very important to be serious about school and get going. Okay, I think I rambled on about FAFSA enough. So we'll go on here to the equation to show you.
Sweet. Thank you, Julia. That was a lot of information. So those applications are on a year-to-year basis. So you're going to want to be filling those out every year. And then when you fill those out, this can help contribute to this equation right here. So at the end, we have financial need, but we can go into the beginning. It's basically like an A minus B equals C formula. I don't know if anybody of you get that, but that's what it is. So the first part of the equation is cost of attendance. The second part so it'd be cost of attendance minus expected family contribution, and then you get into your financial need. That's a very basic overview, but we could go into a little bit more detail on the next slide. Julie, I don't know how to go to the next slide, so you might.
Oh, it's okay. I gotcha.
Okay, sweet. So this is a good example of cost of attendance, hence the green and gold. This is Sacramento State's cost of attendance for the year of 2020 and 2021. Some important things to realize is that this is kind of just like an estimate, average, a bunch of calculations for the school to just really see what the average cost is to go to Sacramento State. So as you can see, the tuition fees, they're all the same, $7,368, whether you're parents, on campus or off campus. So these numbers are very different for an individual, but these are an estimate to help the Department of Education really just estimate what the cost of attendance is. A big thing to take note of is those bottom numbers, those in bold, the totals, those seem really big, like, oh my gosh, $27,000, that's a lot of money. But, like I just want to reiterate, these are estimates. So all these choices and all those numbers for your totals are just going to be based up and contingent upon all the choices you make for food, housing, transportation, books, and supplies. So those numbers are just baselines, really. So that is the first part of the equation in how they calculate financial needs, cost of attendance. So. Yeah.
That's perfect. So next they take the expected family contribution. This is what they're subtracting from how much they expect it to cost you to go to school at Sac State. And they consider, if you're under 24, your income and your parents' income. And then they're also going to consider things like what's the age of your oldest parent, how many people are in your household, how many people are in college. They have their own algorithm for how they determine this, one that we're not privy to. But the decisions and the information that you put in on your FAFSA have to be accurate to allow them to actually provide an accurate representation of how much they think that your family would contribute. And because it is with the government, it's of the utmost importance to be completely accurate on your FAFSA because it is something that they audit. So it's very, very important.
Okay, cool. So now that we've talked about cost of attendance and expected family contribution, we could kind of get a good visual for you all to just visualize how this whole equation works. So let's use Sacramento State as cost of attendance. So if cost of attendance is $25,000, then you go to the next part of the equation, your expected family contribution, fill out your applications, whether it's the FAFSA or the CDAA. Then after filling that out, they can really calculate your expected family contribution. Cost of attendance is $25,000. Your EFC is $5,000, and then you get a financial need of $20,000. Yay, we're good at math. So this number is super important because it's actually going to help you with your financial aid package and really determine how much money or how much financial aid they're going to end up giving you in your package for each school, because each school will give you a different financial aid package, which is something important to take note of.
Yeah, that's also important, totally. Like your cost of attendance at a different school will be a different amount. Your expected family contribution would be the same, but yeah, like AZ said, it will be different for different schools. So this is a common question, especially with transfer students. I don't see my financial aid package. I filled out my FAFSA, where is it? What's happening? And there's a lot of different reasons that this might be the case, but we'll just go over a couple of them just to kind of get you comfortable. The number one thing would be really check out all the aspects of your student center. There's this portion on the right side of it that's your to-do list. And like I said, 30% of students get randomly verified, and it is random. So that means you need to provide documentation proving that the information you put on your FAFSA was correct. So if there's anything that's outstanding on there, they're going to wait until they get that information to let you know how much aid they're going to offer. So that would be a big one. Another one would be to double check your FAFSA and make sure that Sac State is on there. You actually put in the school that you're planning on attending when you fill out your FAFSA. Maybe you did it forever ago, so you don't remember, but it's important that it says Sac State, because then the government knows what's happening with what school you're at and where to send the money. Another big one too is you can check on the school, like if you're at Sac City, that's where I was at. I had to call them and remind them to remove me from their page. They were still trying to give me financial aid there, and I had to remind them, hey, no guys, I already transferred, please take me out of your financial aid system. So those are kind of the big ones.
Sweet. So types of financial aid. So once you do those applications, whether it's like the FAFSA or the CDAA, and that whole equation kind of takes place, you may be offered these types of financial aid. We're going to go into grants, loans, and scholarships, words you've all heard before, but we're going to get you some good information to help you truly understand what they are. Yeah.
So the first one is grants. Grants are free money, and there's two different types. We have federal grants and we have state grants. So the very first one would be the Pell Grant. This is actually available for 6 years. A lot of us transfer students, we might have used the BOG waiver. I think it goes by a different name now. But the Pell Grant is going to be a separate option. So maybe you say, oh, I've used up all of my BOG waiver. Well, you might still have grant eligibility. It just depends. So, don't avoid the FAFSA just because you're worried about not having it. That would still be something really important to do. And so you can see there's a couple different types. Like there's a Teach Grant that's very specific for teaching, federal supplemental education. All of these kind of have specific requirements. And you can use these websites down here, the csac.ca.gov one. If you want to write that down, so it's free, that's going to give you information on the California grants. And the studentaid.gov gives you information on the federal grants. So just kind of knowing that the info is in different spots, they're funded in different ways. You might qualify for some, you may not qualify for any. It just really depends on your personal situation. A big one too, I know it says middle class scholarship under state grant. Just note that's not really a scholarship. That's actually a form of a grant. So assuming that you have, you're passing your grades, you're passing your classes, and you have the correct units, the middle class scholarship is you don't have to fill out a form. Like, you've already done it by doing the FAFSA. So go you. That was great. All right, real fast. So why was I not offered any grants? My parents don't have the money to help me pay for college. This is super common. You know, everyone has a different financial situation, and it can be pretty difficult. With COVID happening, if your family's income has drastically changed due to loss of job, one of our suggestions would be to contact the Student Center and let them know about your specific situation and see if there's anything that they can do to help with that, especially with COVID. So if you are under 24 and your parents have suffered some sort of loss, definitely look into that, contact the Student Center. Besides that, you know, there's other ways to kind of make up this ground if you don't get grants. It just means you're going to have to really put a lot of work into scholarships to kind of make up that cash that you weren't given. Also consider, you know, tax implications. I can't give you any tax advice, of course, but, you know, there are credits that help education that are specifically designed to decrease your tax bill. So that might be something that applies to you as over 24 or someone who is a transfer student who's under 24. Here's a question. I accepted some scholarship, but this amount is not on the FAFSA financial plan. Yeah, so the scholarships are independent of your FAFSA. The way that it does relate, we had that financial need number. Remember, it was $20,000. So if you accepted a scholarship, and this rarely happens that you go over this amount, but if you say that you had taken $20,000 in grants already, you take $20,000 of grants already, and then you get a scholarship, you know, the max amount of aid you can accept for school is the $20,000. So then it would decrease your grant eligibility. This rarely happens, but that's kind of the concept of scholarships playing into your whole financial plan. And we'll go over scholarships as well later. But yeah, definitely get those scholarships. Julie,
Okay.
scholarships may come in later. I'm not quite sure what you mean. I'm sorry. I'm getting secret messages on the side. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll revisit that as soon as I have some clarification so we can continue on.
Sweet. Yeah. So Julia talked a little bit about scholarships, you know, filling in those gaps if you don't have any grants or if you've used your grants. So an important thing to know is that scholarships aren't just for like valedictorians, star athletes, music prodigies. Like, scholarships are for everyone as long as you apply. And another thing that I didn't know, because I mean, I'm new to this, but scholarships are on a year-to-year basis, like your FAFSA. So if you want scholarship money, you're going to need to apply every single year. And the big thing with scholarships is you're not going to get a scholarship if you don't apply. So the biggest thing is, if you want a scholarship, then you have to go out and apply for scholarships. So in this, I'll be talking about types of different scholarships as well as where to look for other types of scholarships. So the first thing that we can talk about are institutional scholarships. So those are the scholarships that the school gives out. And et cetera. And then we go into like the departmental scholarships. So the School of Business, for example, or the College of Arts and Letters, the College of Engineering and Computer Science will have different scholarships based off department. So there are nearly $4 million of scholarships each year. And sometimes that money doesn't go anywhere because people aren't applying. So the big thing to know is that there's money there for you to have. You just have to go out there and apply for these scholarships. You could even go on Academic Works, fill out a general application, and it'll actually just shoot that application and apply you for a bunch of scholarships all at one time. So that's a good resource that we have at Sac State. Oh, sorry, next one. And then we also have community scholarships. So those can look very different. So I'm not going to go into any specifics. You have service club scholarships like Key Clubs or Optimist Club from high school, or just and beyond will give out scholarships for college students. Local businesses. My friend actually got a scholarship from Domino's in high school. Pretty random, but pretty cool at the same time. And then lastly, we have the databases. So you're going to have scholarship databases like, next slide. There we go. Okay, cool. So you're going to have scholarship databases like FastWeb, Scully, and Unigo as another alternative for your scholarships. So something cool about these is they're really fun. They're not like drab scholarships that you can apply for. They're actually really fun prompts to write about. So On Unigo, there's a scholarship to write about your favorite ice cream flavor, which is really cool. And you have a potential to win up to $1,500 for these scholarships. So an important thing is some of these scholarships will ask for certain information, but you should never pay for applying for a scholarship. That's just one thing to keep note of. Be aware of like some scams that'll ask for certain like very private information. Most of the time, it'll just be like a general application, and you might have to write a prompt or something like that, like maybe like give your student ID. But these are different scholarship databases: FastWeb, Scholarly, Unigo, and iGrad as well.
Yeah, and something to mention about scholarships really fast. So after you receive them, you may need to give the university a letter confirming that you got the scholarship. And this is where I'm confused. And so the school will be paying the scholarship out to you. So I believe it depends on which type, but do keep in mind it does get wrapped into your financial aid.
Thank you. Sweet. So talking about iGrad, as well as having a scholarship database, iGrad is a really good tool for Sacramento State students. You go to www.csus.edu, search financial wellness, which is our website right there. And in the bottom right, you'll see iGrad. So it's a combination of a couple things that is a really great tool for students for helping them really develop their personal finance. So they have a bunch of articles that you can read up on to improve your personal finance. There's courses on there. There's also tools, right? So they have a budgeting tool. I used to use it, and it used to be really helpful to help budget my money. And recently discovered that there's actually a scholarship database on iGrad as well. So jack of all trades in that sense. So you get better at your personal finance, and also have a scholarship database where you can look through scholarships and apply for the ones that you think are cool and get some money. So that's iGrad.
Okay, so we have a couple different types of federal loans that are available, and we'll go into the details of which one is kind of better, which one you're going to want to apply for or accept if you need loans, of course. So we'll dive into that.
Sweet. So hence the superheroes. We like calling the subsidized loan the super loan because it has a fixed interest rate. But the cool thing about the subsidized loan is the interest doesn't accrue while you're still in school, and it's needs based. So this is a really, really good loan. The interest rates are low right now, and the interest doesn't accrue while you're in college. So that's our subsidized or our super loan. And then we have our unsubsidized loan, which has the same interest rate of 2.75% right now for 2020 and 2021. The only difference between the subsidized and the unsubsidized is the interest accrues right away. Same, it's needs based, just like the subsidized loan. And yeah, that's the biggest difference. The interest is accruing right away.
So really fast, you might notice in your student center that you were given more unsubsidized loans than you were subsidized. And that's because unsubsidized, they actually don't go off of your needs. So those are the ones that you'll accept. Maybe you have a higher income, you've been working for a while, and so they're considering that you need less money for school, you're likely to get more unsubsidized. And with both these loans, repayment doesn't start until 6 months after your college has ended, or if you start another college, if you do graduate school, it'll put your loans on hold. But like anything, we'll talk about smart borrowing. We're trying to set ourselves up to be in the best possible position when we graduate. So before taking out loans, there's some important factors to really consider if you can afford it in the future, and what that'll make the next 10 years of your life look like. And we can go through those too as well, not to plug ourselves again. But if you'd like to make a meeting with us, we can kind of go over what your different options are as well and help you in that way. So we'll go on to this one. So this is Parent Loans Direct Plus. This is another type of loan. Typically, it's just for the parents to take out. It's credit based, so it's going to check the parent's credit score. It's a higher interest rate. The interest starts accruing right away, and you have to start payments immediately. So it's kind of the worst case scenario of the two loans we just looked at. And if your parent is really wanting to help, but they don't have the cash to do up front and they are considering a loan, one option would be to take the loans out in your own name and just take the subsidized so that you don't have to start paying right away. Your interest isn't accruing and you get that lower interest rate. This is going to show up in your to-do list also, and there's nothing that needs to be done unless your parent would like to take it out, in which case you fill in the form. But besides that, it'll just sit there, and you don't have to take any action on it. That's important to note.
So next we have private loans, which are most of the time kind of a last resort most of the time, because these private loans they're funded by banks, credit unions, private businesses, or companies, and they have to turn a profit, or they have to make their stakeholders kind of happy. So they're charging higher interest rates, and they kind of want you to mess up on your loan just so they can make money. So you have to be aware of that. So most of the time they check for credit. The high, or like some interest rates look at like they're around like 18%, which is really, really high. And you have to start paying right away. So these private loans are an option if need be, but most of the time we like to say that they're kind of a last resort if you want to fund your college education.
All right, so we get a lot of questions about federal work study. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's okay. My bad. Go ahead.
We get a lot of questions about federal work study, so this is also a way to kind of pay for college, and we'll watch this full video. It might be really loud. Just brace yourselves, everyone.
Want to earn money while you're in school to help cover tuition and expenses? Work study can help. Work study jobs are usually on campus and may give you experience related to your major. For example, English majors could work in the writing center, or chemistry majors could work in a science lab. Work study jobs are also available in a school's libraries, cafeterias, student unions, cafes, and just about anywhere on campus. Because they are part-time and offer for flexible hours, work-study jobs give you time to focus on schoolwork. They're available to full or part-time undergraduate, graduate, and professional students. Getting a work-study job starts with the free application for Federal Student Aid, or FAFSA, which determines your eligibility for financial aid. The only way to apply for work-study is to check the box saying you're interested in work-study on the FAFSA. Be sure to complete your FAFSA early. Funds for work-study are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. Keep in mind that if you receive work-study as part of your financial aid package, you don't automatically have the job. You still have to apply for work-study jobs and go through an interview process just like any other job. To learn more about work-study jobs, talk to your counselor or someone at a college financial aid office, or visit utahfutures.org.
All right. So working while you're in school is a really great option, and a lot of Sac State students do it. I was surprised to find out how many of the people I was in classes with had full-time jobs even while they were making it through school. So this is definitely the time that we take on a lot of challenges. And one of the best kind of ways to utilize our time here is taking on a part-time job that applies to what we're interested in. So this is kind of a brief overview of some things. We have a career center, and they can help you make a resume. They can help you search for a career, decide kind of where your path should be. So definitely use them often, help them make your resume better, teach you how to do a cover letter. That's what they're there for. And then there's a couple places to look. Handshake actually is a really, 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 really great app. I was going to pull it up, but I don't think it'll help. So it's this it'll have a red icon, and you log in with your single sign-on for Sac State. It shows you jobs that are on campus and internships that are available. And you can upload even your resume so that it's ready. And you can just say, I would like to apply. You write a quick cover letter, and you can send all your information out just from that app. Another great one is the University Enterprises. This is, you can find this if you go to csus.edu and you search for it. They have the jobs on there, and that's a great place to find, California State assistant jobs, different internships that are available. Those are there as well. So here's a couple examples of some fun jobs. When we're back, hopefully in the spring, Peak Adventures, they need a person to help work on bicycles. CalFresh has an outreach internship. We have a CalFresh pantry where we service students in need. every student's available to come use it. You could work for IT in the help desk. California, I just looked, there's one for being a student assistant, an audit resolution, which as an accountant, that applies to me. So definitely go check it out, write down UEI and Handshake, and make sure to utilize those resources. You can get these student assistant jobs when you're a student and not when you're graduated, when you've moved on. So now is the time to kind of secure that maybe lesser paying job, but one that's definitely going to help you in the future. So the federal work study, how this kind of works in there, the school will use federal work study funds to pay for your job. So you would, the money on your aid package, you don't get that automatically. You need to get a federal work study job first to be able to receive those funds. So that's kind of a little confusing for students, but I'll break down for you.
All right, common question. I'd like to work on campus, but don't qualify for federal work study. Can I still get a job at Sac State? And the short answer is yes, you can still get a job at Sac State. And there are actually a lot of benefits. I work at Sac State, as you know, and when I'm on campus, I really like it. They work around your schedule, which is another benefit of working on campus, which you won't see from jobs off campus. So they line up nicely with all your classes that you're taking. You save a lot of money commuting, especially now, just because we're remote, we're working from home. So we save a bunch of money, and just the overall environment of just working with other students, and especially because this job has a lot to do with my major, is another plus side to working on campus and having an on-campus job. So if you don't have that federal work study, then you can still get a job at Sac State.
Okay, so this is your student center. This is what we were mentioning earlier of like get really acquainted with this setup. We're gonna talk about something called the financial aid meter. It helps you understand how much aid you have left, so it can decrease some stress in your life. It's available in these two spots, my little green arrows, so keys to degree, and then it's down here in the finance section as well, the financial aid meter. So this is an example of a student. Each of these little buttons are pushable. So this person's under their federal loan information, and we can see some information about that right here. It looks like they've used up all their grants. It's all red, and now they're moving on to their federal loans. So we can see that they've previously borrowed $30,000. They currently have $6,000 out, and they have $21,000 left. So the max amount of federal loans that you can borrow is $57,500. Is it going to cost you $57,000 to finish at Sac State? Probably not. And if you're planning to move on and do a graduate program or a doctorate, having some loan eligibility can be a lifesaver when you want to follow your pursuits and have that cash available to you when you can't receive grants and other money. So that's kind of the first setup here. And then we'll look at the students. The student is more on the grant side, so we can see that they have some grants that are still available. That's all those green bars. They have some California grants still available as well. And then they've taken out about $4,500 in federal loans, and we can see that that's all they've used. So they have a ton of federal loans as a backup that they still need, and a ton of grant eligibility as well. So yeah, like I mentioned, you can push on all these little buttons and find out specific information as to what's happening with your financial situation.
Sweet. This is my favorite slide. So it's okay to be a broke student when you're a broke student, like the majority of college students who struggle and cook ramen noodles for dinner. This is pretty much how it's going to be. You're going to be broke while you're in college, but it's an investment in yourself. So that's something to keep in mind. So this is a happy kitty. This happy kitty is a smart borrower. So they have a maxed amount of $57,500, as you can see, but they only borrowed $25,000 with that 2.75% interest rate. They only paid $3,620-ish in total interest with a loan term of 10 years. So their monthly payments are relatively low at around $238.53. So on the other side, you have another kitty, not a happy kitty, a perplexed kitty. Like, wow, that's a lot of money I have to pay. So they took out all their money, $57,500, same interest rate, but they ended up paying $8,000, $261 yeah, that number, a lot of money over 10 years, and their monthly payments are around $543.84. So something to take note of is even though your maximum loan amount is $57,500, we like to emphasize being a smart borrower. So borrow only what you need and be the happy kitty, not the really surprised kitty that is going to end up paying a lot of really big monthly payments. You don't want that. So budget accordingly and then figure out how much money you need to pull out if you do need to pull out money for a loan. And we could definitely help you with that at Financial Wellness. Schedule an appointment if you need help with that. We're glad to help.
There's also a way to calculate your monthly to kind of see what it's like. So before you take out any extra money, you can check it out and say, what would it look like if I borrowed this exact calculator, 57,000. So yeah, that's kind of the tip. Some people just think, oh, maybe I can afford that monthly payment, but they haven't actually checked it out. And also to consider how much you're actually spending in interest, right? Because that's just money that leaves for no reason. So yeah, definitely what AZ said. Love it. So these are SMART goals. It's a great way to break down something that seems too large for you to handle all at once. Our advice is to budget. If you do receive financial aid above your tuition, it's a big number, it's a big amount of cash, and it can seem like you're super wealthy and you can go and buy whatever you want. But to consider that the semester, instead of just being 4 months, consider you need an extra month of savings to cover rent in January. How are you going to pay for rent in January? You need to have a stable place to live. So we like to remind students that they take their aid package, they divide it by 5 months. You're motivated to make it last. So you put it in a separate account and you pull over the cash that you need monthly, and then you only spend that. And really by dividing it up, it can be attainable and super useful.
Sweet. So like mentioned earlier, after applying for the FAFSA, 30% of students will be randomly selected for verification. So what that means is your financial aid package will be like held off until you send in these documents. So you have like the 1040 income tax transcripts, which is just a form that the IRS has that you need to basically fill in and copy. It's basically a form that shows that you've submitted your tax returns, and then these other types of documents, 1040 tax returns, W-2s, or 1099s if you're an independent contractor, as well as household size. So these are some of the documents to look out for in your to-do list if you are selected for verification. Funny story, I was actually selected for verification, and I had to do this like 2 days ago because I forgot about it. But yeah, it's all good. 30%.
Which counted as you. That's awesome. So thank you so much for putting up with our technical difficulties. This is the very last thing. It's kind of just an overview of the services we provide. We're going to be doing cost presentations. Like I said, free, confidential, individual coaching sessions. We're here to answer any questions. You can use us as often as you want, or just visit us one time. We won't be offended. It's all good. And then some really fun campus-wide workshops. And obviously with it being virtual, we're really trying to step up our game and have some fun activities to do that can be done remotely. So the best way to kind of keep in contact with us right now would be to follow our Instagram. I don't know if you all have done this, but you can open your Instagram if you have it and just you swipe to the left like you're going to make a story or a post, and you can hold your camera up to that adorable little dollar bill sign thing and just touch right in the middle on our name, and that'll pull up our Instagram right away. And that'll have workshops. It's a really easy, passive way to learn some new vocab words and kind of keep up to date with relevant financial deadlines and things that are important to complete. So yeah, give us an email if you need. Follow us on Instagram, and then I'm going to stop recording and we can talk about any sort of questions that you might still have.
Drop them in the chat.
Yeah, drop them in the chat. I'm going to stop recording.